the size of your mining operation is not as important as the cost of power, right? If you are able to procure power at a very, very low cost because you happen to live in a location where that is the case, or you have access to power that perhaps you're making yourself, either solar, wind, and any kind of green power, you are able to mine at profit, even if you have 10 machines.
Thank you to my sponsor, Cake Wallet, where you can store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero safely on your iOS and Android devices. MetalPay, how banking was meant to be. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Girl Gone Crypto. I have an awesome guest here today that I've been excited to have on for a while. I've got Tomasz Wojewoda, the CEO and founder of AGA. So Tomasz, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
My pleasure. I'm excited to be here.
So we are both based in the Seattle area, and so it is my hope that eventually we'll be able to meet up at a conference or something. But eventually, until then, we'll just have to do this Zoom thing. So what I've been excited about to have you on and chat more is I feel like AGA is like bridging two really big worlds in the crypto space, mining and liquidity pools. So just to kind of kick off, can you give us a high-level overview of what AGA is, and then we can kind of dive into it from there?
Yeah, absolutely. So AGA is a Bitcoin mining it's a token that's backed by Bitcoin mining that runs on Ethereum on the DeFi platform. The interesting thing is that a lot of times when you think DeFi, you think the tools that people use to build DeFi. So the finance 2.0 or 3.0. We are not building those tools. We are actually using them to run our business. Our core business is what you see behind me. It's Bitcoin mining, but we are not running it as a traditional business. We are running it as a Web 3.0 DAO DeFi business. So we take advantage of all of these concepts to run, a relatively traditional business of mining.
So I feel like this might take a moment for everyone to like wrap their brains around. So let's kind of dive into each of these different components. So a Bitcoin mining backed token. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that works? Maybe we'll start there.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you for doing that. So look, basically every day, every week, our miners produce profit. We pay for electricity, and then what's left over, we convert that into an ERC20, either stablecoin or Ethereum, and we use that on the Ethereum. Basically, we use it to buy back AGA. So on one hand, we have sold AGA to fund the facility that you see behind us. Not all of it, part of that is ours, but to fund what you see behind us. And then as these miners produce profits, we use them to buy back AGA from the market. So that's why we say mining backed, because it's the profits from mining are the fuel for AGA.
Got it. And so is AGA technically a stable coin, did you say, or how is it classified?
No, I wouldn't call it stable coin. Okay. Yeah. We convert mining profits into stable coin like USDC or USDT, because that is something that we can easily swap for AGA on Uniswap.
Got it. Okay. And so now we've got kind of a understanding of the token and, kind of where its value is being derived from and the tokenomics of that. Now let's talk a little bit more about the DeFi side of things and how that works. And so do you guys have like AGA, Ethereum liquidity pools, or how does that work?
Exactly. So this is where those two worlds are coming together, right? Because we are a bit of a Bitcoin maxis. We mine Bitcoin. We believe absolutely in Bitcoin. But in order to serve our community, our contributors, we are using the basic tools of DeFi. Right. So we have a liquidity pool on Uniswap where there is liquidity for Ethereum and AGA. And then we allow our community to basically trade there. That de facto is their exchange for selling or buying AGA as they believe that the profitability of Bitcoin mining and the future of AGA, if it looks bright, they buy. If they don't believe in it, they sell. Typical trading.
Right.
But we do support a pool. The other concept in DeFi is the staking, liquidity mining, all of that, right? We do the same thing. So basically, our liquidity providers that provide liquidity to our AGA Ethereum pool every month are rewarded with additional AGA tokens. There is a minimum limit of 2,500 AGA that needs to be contributed to that pool. And then every month we basically have payouts on the 15th of the month. So we did one yesterday where we have paid over 60,000 AGA, which is about $25,000 to our liquidity pool providers, stakers.
Got it. And so I kind of want to shift a little bit and talk about mining itself, because this has been obviously a really big year for the mining industry with the Bitcoin halving and, new technology and, cards and things coming out. And so how have you guys needed to shift gears on your operations to stay profitable? And what do you kind of foresee as kind of the future of Bitcoin mining over the next couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been somewhat fortunate because we have accelerated, kind of grew our business now in this time frame. So all of our equipment is the latest generation, which is 7 nanometer or 8 nanometer Bitcoin mining chips. But a lot of miners who have the older equipment, the very, the S9s were very heavily used, or the S15s that came after them. A lot of these miners are no longer, those units are no longer profitable at somewhat standard electricity prices, unless you're getting electricity for free, which happens in few instances. But if you're paying for electricity, the S9s, the older generation of units, are marginally profitable or no longer profitable. We are fortunate where we have a number of new units, pretty much all of them being new units, where we are still, quite profitable. Basically, at this point, it costs us about $7,000 to mint one Bitcoin, which is a nice discount to the price at which we are able to sell it. So it's nice to be a miner at this point. It's not always like that, but this is a good time to be a miner.
And do you think that part of that profitability comes from the size of your operation? Like, I would imagine that even if, let's say, an amateur, smaller miner had a couple of rigs in their apartment, like that would really cut the profitability, right? So I'm just I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, larger pools and mining operations versus like individual miners, and if individual miners still have a role in the ecosystem.
I think so. I would consider myself an individual miner, right? I mean, if you look at these big mining facilities, they are talking thousands, tens of thousands of units. We are speaking about hundreds. It's low, it's bigger than what you could do in your basement, but it is still a small business. The size of your mining operation is not as important as the cost of power, right? If you are able to procure power at a very, very low cost because you happen to live in a location where that is the case, or you have access to power that perhaps you're making yourself, either solar, wind, and any kind of green power, you are able to mine at profit, even if you have 10 machines. Larger operations are able to negotiate better rates, prepay with electric companies, but that is not universal. There are, counties, states that are pushing these larger operations out as they consider them somewhat risky. So sometimes being small, flying under the radar, working with a smaller PUD is not a bad thing. And that's what we've been doing.
That's a fair point. And so you guys are have your your rigs in Eastern Washington,
Eastern Washington.
Okay.
Most of them are in Eastern Washington. I guess I'll share it. In Newport and Okanagan, those are the two towns in which we have rigs. In both of these locations, the county as well, the utilities are, easy to work with and pleasant to work with. And then, we love being there.
Yeah, that's a question that I had for you just in general about kind of the role of government and regulations. Like, is that something that you are worried about that they'll start to crack down on certain things and it'll be more difficult to operate? Or what are kind of your general thoughts on that?
I wouldn't say I'm worried about it. I would say that it's our responsibility as miners to educate, to have that dialogue with government agencies. I mean, we can bring good things to community. We bring growth, investment in buildings,
Right.
more things. And a lot of these communities are looking for that. It just cannot be something that we do to them. It's something that we need to do with them. And I think that's a bit of a shift from about 40 years ago, where in the last bull run, there was, almost like an attack on these communities with miners.
Right.
Now, I think we have learned, and that's when I started, now we have learned that we need to work with these communities. And I think that's the fundamental shift that you'll see in mining in US, in Americas. I don't know how that works outside of the US.
Right. And so let's shift back and talk about AGA just a little bit more. And so what is the team working on? What are you guys excited about? What's kind of coming down the pipeline for AGA?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, we are sharpening kind of like our tools, trying to figure out how to work with the community, with our contributors. So there are a few big things happening. We have just ordered 100 new miners. They are coming from Iceland, hopefully shipping today. And that will double our profitability, our capacity. Right. So basically this week, next week, AGA should be twice as big as it was, during this interview. So that's super exciting. That's also a lot of work. Setting up 100 rigs will require some time, and looking forward to that. But it's a lot of work. In addition to that, we are kind of looking at the token and the tokenomics of it. So what we are going to do, we have agreed with our community members to basically eliminate a third of the tokens that we have released. We don't really have a plan for them. We don't really see us selling those tokens in the future. So we want to make sure that everyone that's contributing to AGA feels a little more comfortable that with the tokens that they own, that they have a bigger chunk of the enterprise. So that's what we will do. And we expect that to be, well received by the community.
Got it. So I'm actually still curious about the token a little bit. So I want to dive into that a little more and how these different varying factors of the Bitcoin mining side of things impact that. And so, you just mentioned that you guys are kind of doubling your output. And so does that mean that the token value should see that kind of growth? Like talk in general about as we head into the next bull run and as Bitcoin, the price soars, how does that impact the profitability of your mining and then in turn impact the token? If you could just kind of walk us through all those variables, I think that'd be really interesting. Yeah.
So look, I think it's somewhat similar to maybe what you would see in like an oil industry where the barrel of oil goes up, like Bitcoin price goes up, and then you see, BP and Chevron, their stock prices go up. It's similar to that. It's not, of course, this is DeFi, this is token, so it's also different, but I think there are some analogies to look at. So it is super interesting. So there are three factors. There is how much Bitcoin costs, sells for, what's the mining difficulty, cost of electricity, then of course, how many rigs you have. So right now, basically for every Bitcoin we mine, we approximately have to sell half of it, about $7,000 of it, to pay for electricity.
Right.
If Bitcoin were to go to 24,000, so go up by 50%, we still only have to pay $7,000 for electricity. Right. So really what has happened with Bitcoin going up by 50%, what we have left over, our profit, doubles. So that's the nice thing about mining, is that during the bull run, mining actually becomes extremely, extremely interesting. And we have also added 100 rigs, or about to, right, when the plane arrives, and we'll get them set up. So that, again, will and should, it will double our profitability. We know that. Now, how that affects the price of token? Well, the markets are not always, 100% aligned to the fundamentals, right? There's hype, so I actually don't know. I've been somewhat surprised, because I'm very, very transparent. So the fact that we are adding miners, The fact that Bitcoin's up in price, that's public information. We talk about it, we share it with our community, and sometimes it has no impact on the price of AGA.
Right.
I think what I believe will happen is, the fundamental premise is that we take every dollar of profit and we use it to buy AGA on the market. Mm-hmm. And I think as we are buying, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 of AGA each week, sooner or later we'll shake out the weekends and the price of AGA will start going up. Mm-hmm. But it hasn't on the news. The market seems to be waiting to actually see the cash flow, and it takes time. So these 100 miners that are coming in, we paid for them 2 weeks ago, right? They will physically appear in US this week. Then it will take us probably a week to get them up and running. And then it will take another 2 weeks till the Bitcoin's produced that we can sell and actually use for buybacks and to affect AGA's price. So there is a bit of a rubber band effect. And I think as the community matures and starts to understand that, and it's a complicated thing that I'm talking about, I know that, right? I know you're kind of going, okay, I'm not sure if everyone will understand. Mm-hmm. It's a complicated thing, but I think as people will learn how to put these factors together, then I think they'll be able to react quicker in terms of buying or selling AGA. Right now, it's a bit of a wait and see and a learning mode.
Right. Well, this has been so interesting just getting to chat with you with kind of the state of mining and the mining community, but then also how you guys have bridged that world with DeFi. And it's just so cool to see what you guys are doing, and congrats on being able to expand and double your amount of rigs. That's a really exciting step for you guys. And so if someone wants to learn more about AGA and continue, reading up on you guys and seeing what you're up to, where should they go next?
Absolutely. So there is agatoken.com, which is our website. We also are trying to be kind of cool with the times, so you can go to aga.finance. That will also work. Telegram, Twitter. I think you'll have this posted with the video, but we are on Twitter, Telegram. Those are our kind of most vocal, active communities. We would love to see folks there. We would love to see you there.
Awesome. Well, Tomasz, thank you so much again for taking the time to come on the show. It's been really great chatting with you.
Thanks, Leah. Nice meeting you. Good luck with everything.
Thanks.
Bye.